She posted it like it was nothing. A smiling selfie, sunlight kissing her face, coffee in hand, captioned, "Why do men always think they own you? Living my best life, nail polish sparkles." It hit my feed before the caffeine did. And I swear for a second, I forgot how to breathe. Noah Hayes, 29 years old, sat on the edge of his bed that morning, staring at his phone as if the pixels would rearrange themselves and make sense. They didn't. Instead, they burned. That post, that caption, that carefully curated image of freedom, all of it, came less than 12 hours after she promised she wouldn't go. Sienna Carter, for years together, 2 years living in the same apartment, one engagement ring already bought, hidden in the top drawer of his dresser under an old gym shirt. She was supposed to be the one. Now she was in Tahoe, with her ex, and the worst part, he wasn't even surprised. For months ago, if you'd told Noah that he'd be single, living in a half-empty apartment, watching his ex's world implode from afar, he would have laughed. He'd been in love, deep, stupid love, the kind where you ignore your gut because your heart's too loud. Sienna had this energy about her, the kind that made rooms brighter just because she was in them. She laughed with her whole face, eyes crinkling, head thrown back. She was magnetic, ambitious, alive. The kind of woman who made you believe in things again. He used a joke that she was chaos wrapped in charm. He wasn't wrong. It all started to unravel when Jake came back, the ex from her college years, the one name Noah had learned not to react to, the ghost that used to live in Sienna's old stories, her old playlists, the dusty corners of her smile when she talked about the person she used to be. Jake had moved back to the city for some startup job. Suddenly, he was everywhere. Game nights, group hangouts. "Oh, Jake's coming too. Hope that's okay." It wasn't okay. But Noah wasn't a jealous type. At least, that's what he told himself. The first red flag came quietly. Sienna started waking up before dawn. CrossFit, she'd said. Just trying something new. 5 a.m. alarms. New gym outfits. Protein shakes lined up in the fridge like soldiers. He remembered her first session, how she came home sweaty, glowing, proud. He'd kiss her forehead and said, "You look amazing." She'd smile, but it wasn't for him. The second flag came glowing on her phone screen. She used to leave it anywhere, on the couch, the counter, the nightstand. Now it was face down, silent, always within reach. When messages popped up, she'd tilt the screen away, like a magician guarding her trick. He tried not to care. He really did. But there's a certain stillness in a relationship when you start watching instead of living. Every small thing feels like a clue. Every laugh at her phone feels like a hit to the ribs. It all cracked open one Thursday night. They were eating pasta, her favorite, when she casually mentioned it. "Jake invited me to Tahoe this weekend." Noah froze. "Sorry, what?" She twirled her fork in the spaghetti, eyes glued to her plate. "Yeah, it's for work. His company's hosting a retreat, and some investors will be there. It's just networking." He set down his fork slowly. "What investors need you there?" That's when she sighed. The kind of sigh that means you're being difficult. "Noah, it's not like that. Jake and I are friends. We've been over for years. You really don't have to be weird about this." He stared at her, trying to steady his voice. "The trip's tomorrow, and you didn't think to mention it until now?" "Because I knew you'd react like this," she said, rolling her eyes. "React like this." "Like what?" "Like someone who doesn't want his fiancée to be spending a weekend alone with her ex in a cabin?" He took a slow breath. "Sienna, I'm not comfortable with you going on a weekend trip with your ex-boyfriend. That's not control. That's respect." Her chair scraped against the floor as she stood up. "Fine," she snapped. "I won't go." Happy, but she wasn't happy. The air turned sharp. She slammed cabinets, muttered under her breath, went to bed without saying goodnight. Noah stared at the ceiling for hours, that cold weight in his stomach growing heavier with every minute. At dawn, he woke to silence. The spot beside him was empty. Her gym bag was gone. So was her weekend bag. He felt his chest tighten as he reached for his phone. No messages. No missed calls. Just a new Instagram story. There she was. Airport selfie. Sunglasses. Coffee. Big, radiant smile. Caption. Why do men always think they own you? Living my best life. The comments were already rolling in. Yes, queen, fire, fire, fire. Unbothered energy nail polish. Men could never relieve face. Noah didn't type a word. Didn't call. Didn't text. He just sat there in that strange, cold quiet, realizing that something inside him had just switched off. Not rage. Not heartbreak. Just clarity. He saw it all. The wedding that would never happen. The house they'd never buy. The future he'd been building, his head collapsing like a sandcastle under a wave. So he did the only thing that made sense. He got up, showered, went to work, nailed his presentation. And when he got home, he opened Facebook, clicked Edit Relationship, and changed it to single. Then he turned off his phone and went for a run. By Saturday afternoon, when he turned it back on, the meltdown had begun. 30 missed calls, 200 texts, a dozen voicemails ranging from desperate to furious. The messages came in waves. Babe, what's going on? Why did you change your status? This isn't funny. I'm in Tahoe. You can't do this to me here. Please answer me. You're being so immature right now. And then one from her best friend, Harper. Sienna's having a panic attack in her hotel room. Whatever you're mad about, this is cruel. Cruel. Noah laughed under his breath. He'd asked for one boundary. Just one. He turned off his phone again. By Sunday, he'd boxed up half the apartment. Her clothes, her books, her endless collection of skincare bottles. He didn't touch the engagement ring. Not yet. That night. For the first time in years, he slept without checking if she'd texted. When he woke up the next morning, he felt something unfamiliar. Peace. Tuesday night, he went on a date. Her name was Ashley. They'd met at the gym months ago. All smiles and easy jokes. She was the kind of person who made conversation feel like breathing. Is this actually happening? She'd texted when he asked her out. It was. They went for sushi. Talked for hours. She didn't once check her phone. She laughed at his terrible jokes, asked about his job, listened when he spoke. For the first time in a long time, Noah felt seen. When he finally turned his phone on at the end of the night, there were 23 new missed calls from Sienna. Her Instagram story? Gone. In its place, a black screen with white text. Going through something. Please give me space. He almost laughed. She wanted space, while flooding his phone with messages. Ashley noticed the look on his face. Bad breakup? She asked softly. Something like that. Want to talk about it? Not really. She smiled. Okay. Want dessert? They ended up at a 24-hour diner, sharing a slice of chocolate cake, trading stories until midnight. And when he got home, there she was, Sienna, sitting on the porch steps, makeup smudged, eyes red. You ignored me for 3 days, she said. You flew to Tahoe with your ex after I asked you not to. I came back. I know, because I changed my status, not because you respected me. She started to cry harder. Where were you? Out. Out where? Does it matter? We're not together anymore. Her voice cracked. You can't be serious. We live together. We have a lease. You can't just... Actually, he interrupted, I can... He explained calmly how the lease was in his name, how he'd already spoken to legal aid, how he was giving her 30 days to move out. She stared at him, stunned. You've been planning this. No, he said quietly. I've been avoiding it. And that was the first night Noah Hayes finally stopped making excuses for someone who never deserved them. The following weeks felt like living with a ghost, not the kind that haunts, the kind that clings, a shadow pretending to be solid. Sienna didn't move out right away. She made excuses. Her job was stressful. She couldn't find a place. She needed time. So Noah gave her 30 days, then started counting silently, one dawn at a time. They spoke only through text, even when they were in the same apartment. It was like coexisting with static, noise that filled the air but never said anything. He'd come home to find her things accidentally spread out on the counter, her perfume still lingering in the hall. Sometimes she'd cry loud enough for him to hear. Other nights she'd knock on his door, wearing one of his old T-shirts, and nothing else. It was all theater. Can we just talk? She'd whisper. About what? Us. There is no us. He stayed calm, always calm. He wasn't angry anymore, just tired. That scared her more than rage ever could. But the real twist came 2 weeks later. It started with a Facebook message request from someone named Emma Vale. The profile picture showed a petite blonde with bright eyes and a guarded smile. He almost ignored it until he read the first line. Hey, I think our partners are having an affair. Noah just stared at it for a full minute, blinking. Then he typed back, You mean Jake and Sienna? Yeah, can we talk? They met that afternoon at a quiet cafe downtown. Emma was nervous, the kind of nervous that comes from knowing your world's about to tilt. Thanks for coming, she said, voice barely above a whisper. Noah nodded. How long have you known? She exhaled. A week, maybe 2. But looking back, it's been going on way longer. She slid her phone across the table. His iMessage is synced to our apartment's iPad. He doesn't know. I saw everything. He hesitated, then looked. There it was, a wall of blue and gray bubbles. His stomach turned as he scrolled. Flirty texts, inside jokes, photos, explicit messages, timestamps matching girls' nights, and late work meetings. And then the Tahoe messages, proof that the trip wasn't a networking retreat. It was a couple's getaway. Can't wait to wake up next to you again. This weekend will be perfect. Emma's voice trembled. She told him she was leaving you, that she just needed to figure out when. Noah leaned back, laughing softly, not because it was funny, but because there was nothing else left to do. When was this? 3 weeks ago. 3 weeks ago, when he'd been looking up wedding venues. He shook his head, half in disbelief, half in awe at how easily people can lie while pretending to love you. Emma stared down at her coffee. What do we do? I thought maybe we should confront them. Together, catch them in the act. He considered it. The image was tempting. Sienna's face twisting in guilt, Jake's excuses collapsing under the truth. But that wasn't Noah anymore. No, he said finally. Let them think they're getting away with it. Emma frowned. Why? Because the best revenge, she said quietly, is letting people build their own consequences. She didn't seem convinced, but she agreed. They exchanged numbers and went their separate ways, both carrying different versions of heartbreak that somehow weighed the same. That night, Sienna tried again. She knocked softly on his door. When he opened it, she was standing there in the lingerie he'd bought her for Valentine's Day. I miss you, she whispered. Can we talk? He looked at her, calm, unreadable. Sure. Tell me about Jake. Her face froze. What about Jake? Are you sleeping with him? Her lips parted, then closed. She laughed, high-pitched brittle. God, why are you so obsessed with Jake? He's just a friend. Right. He walked to his dresser, grabbed his phone, and opened the screenshots Emma had sent him. He held it out, then explained these. The color drained from her face. The texts, the photos, the messages that detailed things too specific to deny. She blinked, stammered. That's not. Hotels mess up reservations all the time. It's not what it looks like. Don't, he said quietly. Don't insult both of us by lying again. For a moment, she was silent. Then her expression shifted, shame twisting into fury. You went to my phone? Jake's girlfriend did. His messages are synced to her iPad. Emma says hi. That broke her, but not into tears, into rage. You're pathetic, she hissed, voice cracking. You think you're so righteous? Jake is twice the man you'll ever be. You bored me, Noah. You were safe and predictable and dull. Jake makes me feel alive. He didn't even blink. Cool. Go feel alive at his place. I will, she spat. And when you realize what you've lost, I'll be relieved, he finished. The lamp flew past his head, shattering against the wall. Then she grabbed her things, random clothes, makeup, jewelry that wasn't even hers, and stormed out. The door slammed. The silence afterward felt like oxygen. 2 weeks later, Emma texted him again. You're going to want to hear this. They met at the same cafe. She looked different, composed this time, confident. Jake works for my dad's company, she said. He got promoted fast because he was dating me. My dad trusted him. Noah frowned. And now my dad knows everything. I filed an HR complaint. He raised an eyebrow. On what grounds? Unethical client relations, she said with a small, satisfied smile. Mia's. Sorry, Sienna's company is one of our clients. Jake's been giving her company discounted contracts to impress her. It's not illegal, but it's a massive conflict of interest. Noah blinked. You're kidding. I wish I was. My dad called an emergency meeting. Jake suspended pending investigation. He couldn't help it, he laughed. Not cruelly, just amazed. So, karma's on overtime. Oh, it gets better, Emma said. Sienna's been posting pictures from Jake's apartment. Yeah. It's mine, Emma said simply. I paid the rent. When I kicked him out, they both had to move into her sister's place. Tiny apartment. 2 cats. No privacy. It's poetic. For the first time in months, Noah smiled without bitterness. Guess we both got out at the right time. Guess so. They sat in silence for a while, sipping their coffee, both knowing that sometimes justice doesn't need a grand plan. It just needs truth and time. Meanwhile, Noah's life began to rebuild itself piece by piece. The absence of chaos was addictive. His productivity at work shot through the roof. His boss noticed. 2 months later, he got a promotion. He started reading again, cooking, sleeping without anxiety. He joined a local bowling league with a couple of coworkers. It was mundane, predictable, peaceful, and peace, he realized, is underrated. Ashley was still around, too. They took things slow. Dinner once a week, movie nights, small adventures that didn't require pretending to be someone he wasn't. One evening, she laughed so hard she snorted water through her nose. Noah couldn't remember the last time he'd laughed that hard, too. He didn't feel broken anymore. He felt awake. Then, one afternoon, Sienna texted him. Can we talk? He stared at the message for a while, then typed back. About what? Please, just one conversation. Against his better judgment, he agreed. Public place. Neutral ground. They met at a Starbucks. She looked different. Hair tied up, no makeup, wearing sweats. The kind of tired that doesn't come from lack of sleep. The kind that comes from running out of excuses. I fucked up, she said immediately. He nodded. Yeah. Jake and I are done. It was a mistake. The whole thing. Okay. She blinked, thrown off by his calmness. That's it. What do you want me to say, Sienna? She hesitated. I want to come home. He almost smiled. Almost. That's not happening. She laughed, a desperate, broken sound. We were together for 4 years. You're just going to throw that away. I didn't throw it away. You did, one lie at a time. I made a mistake. No, you made 100 choices. Her eyes filled with tears. I'll do anything, Noah. Therapy, whatever you want. Please, just... He stood up, shaking his head. I want you to learn from this. Just not with me. He left her there, crying into a paper cup, and for the first time in a long time, he didn't feel guilty. He felt free. As he walked out, Ashley texted him. How'd it go? Like I expected. You okay? Better than okay. He pocketed his phone and smiled at the setting sun reflecting on the cafe window. Sometimes closure isn't a conversation. It's the quiet moment you realize you don't need one. 6 months later, the apartment felt like a new universe. Same walls, same furniture, but the energy was different. The silence wasn't heavy anymore. It was sacred. Noah had replaced the framed photos, repainted the living room, and thrown out every trace of her, not out of spite, but because it finally made sense that healing sometimes means erasing the ghost you invited in. He'd even learned to enjoy mornings again. Black coffee, no sugar. Lo-fi music. Sunlight spilling through half-open blinds. Peace had texture now. It wasn't about pretending he was fine. It was about knowing he would be, even on bad days. Ashley noticed it too. "You're different," she said one night while they were sitting on his balcony, sharing takeout. "How so?" "You smile more, but not like before. It's not forced anymore." He laughed softly. "Guess I finally stopped trying to fix things that were meant to fall apart." She smiled. "That's deep. You write that down." "No, but maybe I should." They both laughed, and for once, it wasn't distraction. It was joy, simple and unearned. Around that time, Noah started journaling. Not for closure. He'd already found that, but to make sense of everything. Every entry began the same way. "This is what it feels like to start over." He wrote about the numbness that used to suffocate him, about the nights he'd replay conversations, trying to figure out what he did wrong, and about the day he realized forgiveness isn't saying it's okay, it's saying it's over. One night, he turned one of those entries into a blog post. He didn't expect anyone to read it, but they did. Thousands did. The post went viral on Reddit within hours. Our slash off my chest, titled, "The Day I Stopped Trying to Win Someone Back Who Didn't Want to Stay." Comments poured in. People sharing their own heartbreaks, their own small victories, their own moments of release. One comment stood out. "You didn't just heal. You evolved. Proud of you, stranger." He read it 3 times before realizing he was smiling. Meanwhile, word about Jake and Sienna spread quietly. Emma texted him again, not out of gossip, but closure. He got fired. Noah blinked. "Jake!" Yep, conflict of interest charges stuck. He tried to blame it on Sienna, said she manipulated him into giving her company contracts. But the board didn't care. They both got blacklisted. Noah sat back, a long exhale escaping him. He didn't celebrate. He didn't gloat. He just let it settle. Karma didn't need applause. 2 weeks later, he saw Sienna again by accident. He was at a bookstore downtown, in the self-help aisle, reaching for The Mountain Is You. And there she was, just a few feet away. For a second, he thought about walking away. But she turned and froze, eyes widening in recognition. "Noah." He smiled politely. "Hey." She looked different. Thinner. Tired. Her hair duller, like life had slowly drained her saturation. "I didn't think I'd see you again," she said quietly. "Yeah, well, life's small." She glanced down at the book in his hand. "You still reading stuff like that?" "Yeah, helps keep my head straight." "Must be nice," she murmured. There was a pause, long, loaded, but strangely calm. "I heard about Jake," he said finally. Her jaw tensed. "Yeah, he blamed me for everything. Said I ruined his career. He moved to another city. Haven't heard from him since." He nodded slowly. "I'm sorry." She laughed bitterly. "You don't have to be. I deserve it. All of it." Noah looked at her. Really looked. The person he once planned to marry. Now just another stranger in the middle of her own consequences. "I don't think anyone deserves to be broken," he said softly. "But I think sometimes pain is the only thing that teaches us." Her eyes welled up. "You always talk like that. I never appreciated it." He shrugged. "Different versions of us. Different times." And then silence again. But this time it wasn't awkward. It was acceptance. "Take care of yourself, Sienna," he said finally, turning to leave. She whispered, "You too, Noah." And for the first time, he believed she meant it. That night, Noah wrote another journal entry. Ran into her today. No anger. No pain. Just peace. Maybe that's what closure really is. When you can look at someone who hurt you and feel nothing but understanding. He didn't post that one. Some things don't belong to the internet. Months passed. Seasons changed. Noah's blog kept growing. People began reaching out for advice, sharing their stories, thanking him for helping them see that heartbreak wasn't the end, just a brutal kind of beginning. Someone met him. "You should write a book." At first, he laughed it off, but the thought lingered. He'd always been the kind of person who turned chaos into meaning. Maybe it was time to do something with it. So he started writing. Not about Sienna. Not directly. But about the version of himself that survived her. A book about rebuilding. About letting go. About how sometimes the best revenge is becoming everything they thought you'd never be. One night, While outlining a chapter, Ashley leaned over his shoulder. "What's that?" "Something new," he said, smiling. "Maybe something real." "Title?" He thought for a moment, then said, "The Art of Moving On." She smiled. "I'd read that." "You'd be the first." "No," she said. "You'd be the first. You're writing it." That line stuck with him long after she went to bed. A year after the breakup, Noah sat in the same cafe where Emma had once shown him the messages. This time, he wasn't broken. He was published. His book was out, self-published, but beautifully received. It wasn't a bestseller, but it was real. Dozens of reviews saying things like, "This book didn't just help me move on. It made me believe in myself again." That was enough. More than enough. Emma showed up unexpectedly. She'd seen the book online. "I just wanted to say thank you," she said, "for not choosing revenge, for handling it better than I did." He smiled. "You did what you had to. Still," she said, "you turned pain into art. That's rare." He laughed softly. "Guess I just needed to prove something, not to her, but to me." Before leaving, Emma asked, "Do you ever think about reaching out to Sienna? Closure or something?" He shook his head. "No need. She's just a chapter. And I've already turned the page." As the sun dipped below the horizon, Noah packed up his things and walked outside. Cool air brushed against his face, the kind that smells like rain and fresh starts. He pulled out his phone, opened his notes app, and typed, "If you're reading this and you're hurting, remember, someday you'll wake up and your first thought won't be about them. It'll be about you. And that day, that quiet, unremarkable morning, will be the real victory." He hit save. No post. No audience. Just truth. The kind that doesn't need validation anymore. 2 years. That's how long it had been since Sienna walked out his life. Sometimes it felt like a lifetime ago, sometimes just a breath. But either way, Noah was not the same man. He lived in a new apartment now, smaller, simpler, but full of sunlight and quiet joy. The kind of place that reflected who he'd become. Not flashy, not loud, just grounded. His morning started the same way every day: meditation, black coffee, journaling. Not to chase peace anymore, but to maintain it. He'd built a modest but loyal online following from his writing. People sent him stories, questions, heartbreaks that echoed his own journey. He never gave cliché advice. He told them the truth. You can't rush healing. You can't skip grief. But you can survive it one honest day at a time. And people listened because he'd lived it. His book, The Art of Moving On, started picking up traction again, not because of marketing, but because people were quoting it on TikTok, reading excerpts over soft music and rain sounds. One clip hit 1 million views. The caption read, "He didn't want revenge. He wanted peace, and that's what made him dangerous." Noah laughed when he saw it. Not because of fame, but because it was surreal to see strangers finding meaning in words that came from his own lowest point. The internet, he realized, wasn't always noise. Sometimes it was a collective whisper, millions of people quietly healing together. One afternoon, he was invited to speak at a local event. Stories of resilience. At first, he hesitated. Public speaking wasn't his thing, but Ashley encouraged him. "People need to hear you," she said. "You live what most only read about." So he said yes. The event was held in a small auditorium, maybe 200 people, nothing fancy. But as Noah stepped on stage, looking out at the faces waiting for his story, he felt something shift inside him. He wasn't nervous. He was ready. He adjusted the mic, smiled slightly, and began. "I used to think pain was something to escape, something to numb or outrun. But I learned that sometimes the only way out is through." The audience went silent. He talked about love, betrayal, grief, about the nights that felt endless and the mornings that felt hollow, about how losing someone can make you lose yourself, until you realize that's the whole point, to rebuild. Then he said something that later went viral, quoted, shared, stitched into thousands of videos. "They didn't break you. They revealed you. Pain doesn't destroy character. It exposes it. What you do next, that's who you really are." People clapped. Some cried. And for the first time, Noah didn't feel like the guy who got cheated on. He felt like the man who grew through it. After the event, a young guy in his 20s approached him. He looked nervous, holding a copy of Noah's book. "Hey," the guy said, "I just wanted to say thank you. My girlfriend cheated last year. I thought I'd never recover. Then I read your stuff. I'm not there yet, but I'm trying." Noah smiled, signed his book, and said, "That's all it takes, trying. Healing doesn't happen in leaps. It happens in inches." The kid nodded, eyes glassy. "Yeah, I just needed to hear that from someone who made it out." As the kid walked away, Noah realized that's what it's all about, turning pain into a bridge, not a wall. Later that night, he sat in his car, parked under the orange glow of a streetlight, scrolling through old photos he hadn't looked at in years. Santa, the apartment, the trips, the smiles that now felt like strangers. He didn't delete them. He didn't need to. They were just memories now, pages in a book he no longer lived in. He whispered quietly to himself, "Thank you for teaching me how strong I could be." And that was the last time he ever thought of her with sadness. Months passed, and Noah's world continued to grow. He launched a podcast, started mentoring others who'd gone through heartbreak, collaborated with creators who resonated with his message. The power of inner peace, the quiet strength of letting go. He wasn't preaching. He was sharing. And that made all the difference. Ashley was still there, a steady, gentle presence in his life. They didn't rush it, didn't find it too soon. But one evening, after a long walk on the pier, she took his hand and said softly, "You're my favorite chapter." He smiled. "You're my new one." A year later, on the anniversary of his first viral post, Noah wrote one final entry. Not for Reddit, not for followers, just for himself. He wrote, "Once, I thought closure was a conversation. Then I thought it was revenge. Now I know closure is when a story loses its power over you. When you stop asking why and start saying, thank you. Thank you for leaving. Thank you for breaking me. Because without that pain, I'd never have met myself." He closed a journal, placed it on the shelf beside his book, and exhaled. Outside, rain began to fall, soft, rhythmic, cleansing. He stood by the window, watching the city lights blur behind raindrops. Somewhere, someone was crying over a breakup. Somewhere else, someone was rebuilding. And life kept moving, always relentlessly, beautifully forward. Noah smiled to himself. He'd once thought his story ended when she left. But now he knew that was just the prologue. The real story began the day he decided he didn't need her apology to find peace. The day he stopped surviving and started living. He whispered, almost to the universe, "Sometimes the best revenge is a quiet life." And as the city hummed softly beneath him, Noah turned off the lights, crawled into bed, and fell asleep with the calm certainty that he had finally, truly, moved on. No grand finale. No cinematic twist. Just peace. The kind that doesn't need to be earned anymore, only lived. And with that, our story comes to an end, but the real story begins with your thoughts. What would you do if you were in this situation? Let me know in the comments.